Now the meeting is open for the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Pilar from New York, go ahead.
Good evening. I just want to express my deepest heartfelt gratitude for this past weekend at Plainfield. It was such a holy experience. I sincerely believe that God was in Plainfield this weekend. In spite of some transportation issues coming from New York, I was able to make it on time for the Bible study and for the round table on Sunday. Not only that, but on the way back, I was also able to fulfill some engagements that I had previously made on time with no disruption, no delays. I am so grateful for having the opportunity to experience such a wonderful 2 days at Plainfield. I'm very grateful also for all the people that contributed by working and volunteering. They made the whole experience really, really wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
What a lovely prelude. Thank you. During this past round table, I heard of one of our members who experienced a wonderful healing, moving her from a wheelchair to a productive business of her own. A friend, not a Christian Scientist, recently had back surgery, and it was a failed operation, and the medical field condemned her to a wheelchair. I called my friend and suggested that she listen to the round table. She promised to do so. She already has a copy of Science and Health, so she has all the necessary materials for a complete and permanent healing. Thank you.
Thank you. Len from Ontario. No, from Toronto, Canada. Go ahead.
Hi. I attended a lecture by teleconference today, and it was regarding the Christian Science work in Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe used to be active with Christian Science in around 1924. Then things sort of faded away, but in the last few years, there's been kind of a revival. And anyways, the practitioner who gave workshops there said that some of his students who are new to Christian Science really love that truth, and they're doing instant dramatic healings. He said sometimes they might just be walking on the road and they see a blind person, and they'll say, "Can I pray for you?" And the person can see after that. Those are the kind of healings that you read about in the Bible. He mentioned quite a few of them, and very dramatic, instantaneous. Even people who were dead on an operating table, and then through prayer, came back to life. So what I liked about it is that it does show that Christian Science does work. Thank you.
Thank you. Luann from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. I am so grateful to God for the opportunity and the means to travel to the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent this past weekend. It opened my eyes to the impact that Christian Science has had on so many lives. Listening to all the testimonies of healing and learning how each individual was led to this church in various ways filled my heart with joy. It was so encouraging to hear how each story of struggle and hopelessness had been overturned into a victory for God through the practical teaching of Christian Science and the work and understanding of our practitioners. It has taught me that there is no situation that is hid from salvation. I was deeply moved by the active demonstration of what Jesus taught in Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. I am so grateful to God for this church and for all I've been given. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Colleen from Massachusetts, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for tonight's music and for the readings on There is One Christ, and it is divine, not human. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have come to Plainfield this past Sunday. It was wonderful being with you all. I felt such an overwhelming sense of love, and I really felt I was home. I realized the importance of living in the Christ mind and sharing the ideas that God gives me freely. I sometimes, while participating at home over the teleconferencing, I would hold back thoughts or ideas because of fear. Well, I realized how much I learn and how grateful I am to others who share and open themselves up so freely and share their inspirations given from above, and how I cherish and learn so much from everybody. It does me such good. I realize that it is my duty to also share the ideas that God gives me without fear, because if I fear, then I'm choosing evil as a God, and I know that's wrong. God never gives me fear. So fear is just the devil trying to stop me from expressing the Christ ideas. So I'm listening to God with my whole heart, and I give and share the ideas He gives me the best I can, and I'm happy with this. I'm learning this here. I'm so grateful for the lessons that I learned here at this church that I would never learn anywhere else. My sincere hope is to continue to work and pray and do better for God each day and to love my neighbor more every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary.
I was attracted to the Plainfield Church many years ago because there was a very clear healing practitioner here who raised people from the dead, who healed people of the last stages of cancer, healed everything through Christian Science treatment. Some of those healings were very quick. Some of them took a long time. And I learned in working with her in this church that sometimes a quick healing is not what I need. Sometimes I need to change my thought to be more useful to God. So I'm grateful to have learned that Christian Science does indeed heal, and that whether I am healed quickly or slowly is up to me and my relationship with God. And I'm grateful for the quick healings, and I'm grateful for the slow healings. Jesus healed 10 lepers as they passed by, and how many of them came back to give thanks or to learn more about God? Quick healings are not always the best thing for the individual. God knows, and I'm grateful that Christian Science heals everywhere on this earth. And I'm grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Dede from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Before I began my study of Christian Science, I used to think of healing as something that would make me feel better. I'm thankful that since joining the Plainfield Church, I've come to find that healing helps me to understand God better. I now know that I'm healed of a problem or challenge when I'm better able to help another who is later faced with a similar experience by speaking to it fearlessly, with complete confidence in God's loving power, which rules out the reality of the negative suggestion entirely. I'm finding this to be a tremendous blessing each day as I'm able to meet daily challenges at work while helping coworkers and associates who come to me looking for comfort to deal with their individual struggles. I never find myself hesitating to mention God to them as I previously would, and each one is receptive to whatever truth is shared. One of our most recent calendar quotes read, "Be in the business of blessing," and I'm grateful for the ability to do so as a result of what I'm learning in this church. I'm most grateful that now I realize healing as something that allows me to make someone else feel better. In my company, all managers are now described as servant leaders, and I'm so thankful for this science, which makes me of better service to God and to my fellow man. Thank you so much for all the work that's going on in this church that is changing my life and helping me to change the lives of others. I'm so grateful for all that's going on here and for everyone contributing to this great work. Thank you so much, and good night.
Thank you. Mike from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here tonight. I am very grateful I was able to attend the Come to Plainfield Sunday. While the two previous trips to Plainfield were very smooth, this one was the smoothest long drive I have ever made in my life. The only time I stopped was when I needed to get gas. I never even felt drowsy and made the trip in an incredible and prayerful 6 hours each direction. I left at 2:30 a.m. in the morning to be on time and was an hour and a half early. I arrived home in late evening, and the following morning I took my wife to the airport at 4 in the morning in fine shape. I'm so grateful for practitioner help and what I've learned attending this church and making this demonstration. Sunday was an incredible spiritual and uplifting day. The round table was such a beautiful and special event, even more so because of attending it in person. I'm so grateful to the New Jersey hosts who put together such a God-inspired event. Of course, it was wonderful to meet in person so many that one sees regularly during the study sessions and church services, and some church members who really traveled a long way to attend from other continents. Thanks to all, also those that didn't make it this time. Hope to see you all next trip. I'm grateful to God, Christ Jesus, Mary Baker Eddy, the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent for pure Christian Science, the original and first wonder of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale from Virginia, go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you for the beautiful reading from the Christ. In the lesson sermon this week is the story in Luke chapter 7 of Jesus being invited to eat at the Pharisee's house, and the strange woman who was a penitent, reformed sinner who came to demonstrate her gratitude and adoration for Christ Jesus. Jesus commented on the lack of love of the Pharisee and the great love of the woman. In the Bible commentary, I read this, quote, "The reason why some people blame the pains and expense of zealous Christians in religion is because they are not willing themselves to come up to it, but resolve to rest in a cheap and easy religion." End quote. When I read that, it struck me how this Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent is the exact opposite of a church that merely dwells on doctrine or ceremony. This church takes seriously the motion that was made in 1879 by Mary Baker Eddy and a small band to, quote, "organize a church designed to commemorate the word and works of our Master, which should reinstate primitive Christianity and its lost element of healing," end quote. This independent church includes very valuable Bible studies, the Bible being the sole source of Mrs. Eddy for writing Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures. This church offers instruction, very valuable and inspiring materials on its website for anyone in the world to access. Services that inform and uplift, music to soothe the soul, practitioners who are ever ready to answer the call for help, and very active, dedicated members working to heal and uplift the world. This all was profoundly demonstrated this past weekend at Plainfield Sunday, when out-of-town members from around the United States, Canada, and even across the ocean came to visit and support these activities in person. The joy and love expressed was palpable. Thank you to everyone who gives selflessly of their great love for God and man, and who do this continually. I, for one, am most grateful.
Thank you. Russ.
I would like to second that. I am so thankful for Plainfield Church and the wonderful readings tonight and the beautiful music, and especially to all the members of this church that make the real teachings of Jesus and Mary Baker Eddy brought to light again. I remember the first testimony meeting that I tuned into made it clear that this little church with its far-reaching arms of love was doing God's work in total obedience to his will. Long ago, I'd stopped going to church when I found out the true history and the disastrous results of disobedience to God and Mary Baker Eddy. Those testimony meetings typically had a small handful of silver-haired people with little inspiration, long gaps of silence between testimonies, people looking around to see who would go next. The silence was so awkward. It spoke volumes to the empty vessels these members had become. But Plainfield is different. Embracing inspiration and the world through the web, which Jeremy has made his mission of ministering to the world, the love all of us bring to Plainfield Christian Science Church, independent. I'm so grateful to have been able to come here and meet many of the people who make Plainfield. For the outpouring of love felt while staying here, I will carry it home with me, adding to my growth in grace and love's embrace. Thank you. God be with us all.
Thank you. Linda.
Tonight I'd like to express my deep gratitude for the standard of truth that Plainfield firmly upholds. It was the very thing that drew me here. The truth-telling and the exposing of wrong gave me such a sense of relief. I had never seen it in action like this before. It had a deep healing effect on my life. In the lesson this week it says in Hebrews 10, quote, "Let us draw near with a true heart," end quote. I am also very grateful for the many lessons I am learning for myself on the necessity of complete honesty with myself, others, and God. While there were areas in my life that I felt were honest, I was shocked at the many places that I needed to transform my thinking and come out into the light and live a life of integrity. I am learning there is no purpose to lies but to hide sin, and sin needs to be exposed to be destroyed, which both Christ Jesus and Mrs. Eddy taught. Going through the process of exposure is very uncomfortable and not easy, but the healing result is without equal. The effects of fear and guilt from overlooking and continuing in sin caused me great suffering. As I practice honesty with practitioner help based on biblical teachings and Mary Baker Eddy's writings, I am finding my life on firmer ground, a greater sense of peace, security, confidence, and a closer relationship to God. Thank you, Plainfield.
Thank you. Fairley from Maryland, go ahead.
Thank you. I just like to express my gratitude to Plainfield for their love and their generous hospitality this past weekend at Plainfield, and for all whom Plainfield is drawing to Christian Science taught correctly here, people from all over the world, and those who came from Canada and France, who all came for the weekend. It's so wonderful to be with a whole group of people who know the truth and are working in the truth for God. Thank you very much, and thank you for the wonderful readings on the divine Christ.
Thank you. Amanda from Missouri, go ahead.
Thank you. Like some of the other testifiers tonight, I too am so very thankful that I was able to visit Plainfield this past weekend. I know that tremendous prayerful work was devoted to the gathering, and it was certainly felt. I would also like to tell of a quick healing of the symptoms of a severe migraine headache that occurred this past weekend while I was there. By late Saturday evening, early Sunday morning, I was feeling quite ill, and I started to worry about being able to do all I was looking forward to doing on Sunday. And I had this fear because in the past, when I have had symptoms come on as severely as they seemed to on Saturday, they have not gone away quickly and have lasted at least a day or more. And during that time, I've been unable to do much of anything at all. So in the wee hours of the morning, I emailed my practitioner from this church. And since our two practitioners in this church seem to always be at their post and working, I really wasn't surprised, although I was very grateful to get a reply from her almost immediately that she was up and that she would pray for me. At that point in time, I was having a hard time reading, and instead I got up, and my thought really went to all of you in this church, all of the members and the workers. And I felt and still feel such appreciation for all of the things that the local members do daily, with the maintenance of the church, the publishing, the website, the broadcast, the watches and the services, and then the thoughtful welcome and generous hospitality I'd been shown. I was very touched by that. And then I thought of those who had traveled to be in Plainfield, how far some had come. And then I thought of those not in Plainfield, but still very much present by their support of the gathering and support of the church. The love that everyone shares for God, for Mrs. Eddy and her pure science that she gave us, it was so very moving to think about. And in that moment, as I was thinking about all of this, I just felt such a wonderful sense of peace. And I felt the love of the practitioners in this church, the work that was being done. And even in that moment when the physical symptoms still seemed to be there, I lost all fear of them. And in that moment, I knew that I couldn't be stopped from doing whatever I needed to do on Sunday. I don't know exactly when the symptoms left exactly, but what I do know is that by the time I got to church that morning and walked in the door, they were all completely gone. I am so very grateful for this quick healing and for the work of my practitioner, for the love and dedication of both of the practitioners in this church, as well as all of the members. And I thank you all for tonight's service, for the readings from Gary, and for the music. Good night.
Thank you. Chardell.
Good evening, and yes, thank you for those wonderful readings and our beautiful music. I wish to offer my gratitude to my practitioner who is helping me to better understand God and the healing power of Christian Science, always striving to be holy, obedient, and humble. Also, I would like to thank the lesson writers who demonstrate this high calling of imparting the Word of God that is shared with the world. The lesson on probation after death and practitioner help have given me greater peace concerning a family member who is not a Christian Scientist and under hospice care. At first I was sad, but now compassion keeps me focused on God's reality of our deathless life with Him, and understanding that whatever needs adjusting will be done in God's good time. A quote given to me gave me peace also. Quote, The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. From Proverbs 10:22. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
Thank you so much for the touching music and the readings. For so long, I felt in the church is my place, and that we are the redeemed of the Lord. Whenever no matter wherever I go, sometimes I feel like I'm just not quite my perfect self. But when I come back to this church and the services and then the readings, again, I regain that. And I may not have said anything when I wasn't feeling that other way or did anything bad. I just didn't feel like I was my perfect self that God made. This church has felt like it fished me up so many times to be, to act like God's child and to be productive and useful. This Sunday, I have small gratitude because we sang How Great Thou Art. And the first time I sang was 1978 in front of a nursing home for some friends of mine at lunchtime for some older folks there. And they sang along with me. I love that song. But never before was I ever able to sing the bass part. It just made me very happy that this time I could do it and stay down there. I just thank God's answer to prayer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Diana from Berlin, Germany and Vienna, Austria. I'm in Berlin now, and I want to send a lot of gratitude on this Gratitude Wednesday. I want to send gratitude to all of you who make your church possible, who make the outreach work, the missionary work that you do on your website possible. I am so grateful for having found this church in late February. It has been such an important help to me, and it's been what I've been looking for. And it was there, and you make this possible for those of us who are seeking this truth to find it. I'm so grateful for the round table and the Bible studies, for the lesson sermons, and for all of the lessons online. I am so grateful for the amazing practitioner help that I found through this church. I am so grateful for just knowing that you are there, that there's this remnant that is doing this work and doing this work with joy. I'm so grateful that you do the watches. I think that's just such important work. And I'm so grateful that you teach us how to handle error. That's been such an important thing for me to understand. And I'm really, really taking these lessons seriously and doing everything I can to work with them. And there's some things I just want to say specifically that I've found that I want to share my gratitude with you about. One is the Mary Beth Singletary's article on mesmerism. I want to express my gratitude for your clarification and underscoring the fact that it is man who aligns with God. I must align with God. It is man to God, not God to man. I am so grateful for the affirmation that everyone is receptive to the truth. I'm so grateful for learning about Philip Keller's book about the 23rd Psalm, and finding that has led me to so much of his other work, which is wonderful. One about the potter and the clay, among many others. I'm so grateful for hearing the prayers that Florence teaches to her granddaughter Ava. I'm just so grateful that she shared those prayers with us. I am using those prayers. They're so simple and wonderful and just help so much. I'm so grateful to the Bible study and round table that you did on the remnant. As I said, I feel that you are doing that work, and I am so grateful to have found you. I'm grateful for the great practitioner help. I'm grateful for the YouTube clips that are amazing, for the Mary Baker Eddy 1910 version that you have online. I'm grateful for all of these books online, for so many of these books that are recorded, for all of this incredible work that you're doing. I just want to express my gratitude, and I know that you are doing this with joy and amazing generosity. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
So I just wanted to share my gratitude tonight for the lesson that I have to trust every time, every desire to God, because He brings it about better than anyone could. This desire to go to Plainfield with my family came some time ago, and then look how wonderful the unfoldment. We've waited a while, but when the time came, His time came, everything was right. Schedules were changed. Flight changes were made without any disharmony. The flights themselves were harmonious. Being there just was wonderful. Meeting everybody, feeling the Christ presence, the love that everyone has for each other, and the common purpose that brought us together also being felt. I'm so grateful for what happened this weekend. It meant something, and I know that even those who were not there felt the effect of it. So grateful for all the work that went into it, for the work, spiritual work also that went into it. The weather was perfect, and the love was just amazing, as previous testifiers have said. So grateful for this work going on here. I couldn't be anywhere better than I am now. I am so grateful that God has given me something to do that surpasses the joy that anything else could have given me. Thank you so much, Gary, for those beautiful readings and the instruction in it. And thank you all for the testimonies and the hymns and the prelude. So grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you.